You have been told we live in a simulation, that the evidence is everywhere if you just open your eyes. But what if everything you think you know about that proof we live in a simulation is built on misunderstandings, half-truths, and viral storytelling designed to hijack your brain? Because when you strip away the clickbait thumbnails, the dramatic music, and the endless debates about are we living in a simulation, the real science points to a far stranger and far more human truth than the internet usually admits. The modern myth goes like this: advanced beings, maybe future humans, maybe aliens. Maybe some post-human AI built an ultra-advanced computer and dropped us into a hyper-realistic video game called the universe. That's simulation theory in its most popular form, and it sounds incredibly plausible in an age where VR headsets, AI chatbots, and realistic open-world games already blur the lines between reality and simulation. You scroll through YouTube and you see titles like "We live in a simulation," "The evidence is everywhere," or "Physicists reveal 100% proof we are living in a simulation." And they stitch together everything from quantum mechanics to déjà vu to the Mandela effect as if it all lines up into one airtight simulation hypothesis. They tell you glitches in the matrix, streetlights flickering, people freezing, seeing the same stranger over and over are signs of a rendering engine struggling to keep up. They claim the universe looks pixelated at the Planck scale like a cosmic screen, that quantum randomness is just a random number generator, that your consciousness is an avatar in some cosmic MMORPG. Here is where it gets interesting. Almost none of that is what serious philosophers or physicists actually say when they talk about whether the universe is a simulation. And the gap between the viral myth and the real discussion is exactly where the truth hides. The idea became mainstream when philosopher Nick Bostrom published what's now called the simulation argument, which got endlessly simplified into "we almost certainly live in a simulation." In reality, his argument is more like a logical trilemma than a mic-drop conclusion. Either advanced civilizations almost never get far enough to run ancestor simulations, or they get there, but choose not to run them, or they do run huge numbers of simulations. If they do, then statistically, we might be inside one of them. It's a thought experiment about probability, not a proof that we live in a computer simulation right now. But that subtlety dies quickly on social media. Because maybe one of three abstract propositions might be true doesn't go viral. Elon Musk says we are living in a simulation does. Add quantum mechanics to the mix, the double-slit experiment. Particles behaving like waves until they're measured, and suddenly people start saying, "See, the world only renders when observed," just like a video game engine saving processing power. That's a powerful metaphor, but it's still just a metaphor. Quantum theory describes how measurements affect systems. It doesn't say there's a programmer behind the curtain. But this is the part most people never hear. The same quantum weirdness that gets used as evidence we live in a simulation can just as easily be seen as evidence that reality has deep, non-classical rules of its own, not that it's fake. Meanwhile, our growing ability to create simulations, AI-generated worlds, whole galaxies modeled in supercomputers feeds the intuition that if we can simulate, someone else must have simulated us, even though that leap from can to must is pure speculation dressed up as inevitability. Now, this is where researchers were stunned. While simulation theory videos kept racking up millions of views, some physicists and mathematicians started asking a very different question. If the universe were literally a computer simulation, what hard limits would that impose on reality, and do we actually see those limits? Some suggested we might find telltale signatures, like tiny lattice patterns in the way cosmic rays arrive from deep space, the kind you would expect if the universe were running on a discrete computational grid. Others dug into the nature of computation itself, arguing that a fully consistent or complete description of all physical reality might require forms of reasoning that no algorithm can capture. If that's true, then a purely algorithmic simulator could never perfectly reproduce our universe, no matter how powerful the hardware. In other words, if parts of physics are genuinely non-algorithmic, then the universe is not just another line of code. More recently, some researchers have even laid out mathematical arguments claiming that reality operates at a level beyond what any computer, even a hypothetical perfect one, could fully emulate. And here is the twist almost everyone gets wrong. The more we push the boundaries of physics and computation, the less the universe looks like a neat, fully programmable game world, and the more it looks like something messier, deeper, and in some ways less comforting than we are just in a simulation. The myth says we live in a simulation, and one day we will expose the code. The emerging view from parts of physics suggests that reality might not be fully compressible into code at all. But this is the part most people never hear, because it doesn't fit the aesthetic of glitch compilations and neon green matrix text. Most of the evidence people cite for simulation theory is either philosophical, ambiguous, or flat-out misinterpreted. The weird coincidences in your life the moment you think you see an NPC looping the time on the clock, always reading 1111, those are classic examples of pattern-seeking brains doing what they evolved to do: find structure even where none exists. The Mandela effect, where groups of people misremember the same detail, gets labeled as proof the simulation was patched, when in reality it's a perfect demonstration of how memory is reconstructive, not a high-fidelity recording. Optical illusions, déjà vu. Time slowing during an accident, all of that shows how your brain simulates reality internally, smoothing gaps, predicting outcomes, and editing your experience in real time. Your nervous system is constantly running a high-speed predictive model of the world, and that model sometimes glitches. That feels like the universe stuttering, but it's really your perception recalibrating. Here's where it gets interesting. The most undeniable simulation you live in is not cosmic software run by post-human programmers. It's the model of reality your own brain generates every second just to keep you alive. The TikToks and YouTube shorts that insist we live in a simulation exploit that feeling of unreliability in your perception, then redirect it outward toward some imagined control room beyond the stars. At the midpoint, something even more important happens. The myth quietly redefines what real means. If the universe is a simulation, people say, then none of this matters. Morality, relationships, suffering, joy, all just pixels and code. That conclusion is not required by the simulation hypothesis, but it's woven into the way the myth is sold. It's convenient. If life is just a game, then you can opt out of responsibility and treat consequences as fake. Yet look closely and you see the irony. Even if we did live in a simulated universe, your experiences, your pain, your love would still be real to you. The physics under the hood wouldn't change the stakes inside the world. This is the part most people never hear. The myth of we live in a simulation, isn't just about physics. It's a story about escape. Escape from uncertainty, from cosmic loneliness, from the discomfort of a universe that just is, without a neat designer you can imagine at a keyboard. Real science, though, points to something much more grounded and, in a way, far more uninspiring. Our best theories describe a universe governed by consistent laws, unfolding from a hot, dense beginning into galaxies, stars, planets, life, and consciousness, without any need to invoke an external programmer tweaking variables. The fact that mathematics can describe so much of this structure tempts people to say we re in a coded universe. But math describing reality does not mean reality is literally software. Maps describe cities, they aren't cities. Equations model gravity, they aren't signs that we're NPCs in a physics engine. The myth says if it's mathematical, it must be simulated. The truth is, mathematics is one of the languages our minds use to understand what's already there. So what is the real, counterintuitive truth behind the sentence, we live in a simulation? It's this. The claim that the universe is literally a computer simulation is, right now, a fascinating philosophical possibility with no solid empirical support and some serious scientific challenges stacked against it. The evidence you hear about in viral videos glitches, coincidences, quantum woo, pixelated spaces either better explained by psychology, by known physics, or by the human tendency to force reality into neat, narratable shapes. The actual simulation happening every day is the one your brain runs, stitching sensory data into a continuous story, constantly predicting and correcting, constantly editing the raw chaos of the world into something you can survive inside. The myth is that unseen programmers control you and nothing is real. The truth is that no matter what the ultimate substrate of reality is tames, fields, information, something we daren't even have words for yet your experiences and your responsibilities are real from the inside. The myth promises a secret door out of the universe. The truth hands you the uncomfortable, powerful realization that you are fully here, and that what you do with that fact matters. We may never completely rule out every version of the simulation hypothesis, but right now, the weight of evidence points toward a universe that is not a video game we can simply unplug from, but a reality we're deeply, irreversibly entangled with. And that makes this life, this moment, and every choice you make far more meaningful than any comforting story about being just an avatar. What myth should I break down next?